How are you doing, green industry business leaders? This is episode number 4 of the Green Industry Profits Podcast, where we talk about how green industry companies can grow in a profitable way. In today's episode, we had a conversation with Steve Mruk of Potomac Lawns. We dive into why he sticks with simple services, what separates his company from others that only last a few years, his approach with networking within his community, and much more. And before we dive into this episode, just a quick note that this podcast is brought to you by Cycle CPA, a remote accounting firm that works specifically with green industry businesses. For more information, go to cyclecpa.com. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. All right, so we're here with our next episode with Steve Mruk with Potomac Lawns. Very excited for this episode. Steve's doing some big things over there. Thank you for joining us, Steve.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Hopefully we can share a story and inspire somebody.
Absolutely. And I know we were talking briefly before the call, kind of mentioning how there's been kind of the different resources, even between when you first started your company versus now. And I think that's really, we appreciate you hopping on here and kind of sharing your story. But I guess
No
to
problem.
kind of start off, Steve, um, what kind of led you to get into the green industry?
Let's see. That's a long story way back in the day on things, but back in high school I did work for a lawn service with a buddy of mine. Um, we did we worked for a company. It was mainly on weekends that I did work for them. It was long weekends, normally 7 a to 7 p.m. We'd cut a whole development and kind of knock it all out on things. After school, everybody kind of went their own way, and he ended up, I think, going to college, University of Virginia, or one of those down there. Um, Long story short, he actually owns a landscape company as well in Charlotte, North Carolina. We still talk to this day on things about business and so forth there. So he kind of got me started in that portion of things. I mean, I've always done lawn care or been around heavy equipment, farm stuff, my whole life on things, but I did a short, time with the railroad and also with an excavating company. And I think the kickoff was when I worked with the excavating company. The gentleman, David, was also a developer. So he had a couple neighborhoods, and I ended up starting in there, push mowing some of the common areas. And then it started getting bigger, and, he helped me get started there. So from there on, that's kind of where it went with things. And that was around 2000. And I think I left my job with the railroad in 2001, just before September 11th on things. So, and pretty much been at it since then on things. So highs and lows, ups and downs. Um, when there just not a lot of resources on some of it back then. Your main advertising was postcards and a phone book. You don't even know what a phone book is nowadays. It's all Google. So, which is kind of cool because you can change your ads up. Then it was all in print and it was there for a year. So whatever you had was there. Um, so yeah, that's the basic start of things there on there. And back then we did do some hydro seeding. We did a little bit of everything. Um, and I found out after the housing market in '07, where we did a bunch of stuff. I'm going to say all our eggs were kind of in one basket. A lot of it, we kind of got out of the maintenance and went for the easy stuff. Um, and that was rough after that because everything was like a light switch. It just turned off. Um, and all the easy stuff was gone. And if we had stayed on the maintenance side a little bit more, I think we'd have been in a better situation on things there. Um, but you live and learn on things. So we're still here today. So, we got through it. It's a rough patch, but you got through it. And, we're steady growing on things. So that's in a nutshell, everything. So,
Yeah. No, awesome stuff. And yeah, it's most companies, I don't know the exact statistic, but most companies don't really make it past their, what is it, fifth year, or
mhm.
I forget that stat. But the fact that you've been 20 plus years and you've seen those times when you've had to adjust the company. I guess from when you first started the company up until now, when it comes to the services that you provide, does that differ?
Yes, we no longer do hydro seeding. We did get out of that market. I'm going to say '09-ish, maybe 10, somewhere in there. And we actually went back to focus on, for lack of a better term, a simple service, mowing, something that's easily replicatable on things. It doesn't require a whole lot of expertise on things. Some of the hydro seeding sites, you had to use different mixes, different equipment. Obviously, you know, hydro seeders were a little pricey. They still are, I'm sure, on things there. So it was fun work. I enjoyed it. But we just decided this was going to be a better fit for things in the long run, for us on things. And, maintenance is normally steady income. The other is just like patios and landscaping. It's, per job. And once there's jobs are done, they're done. So you're constantly looking to add to your, work there. And you may have to travel further out for things. So we just decided and not provide that service anymore. But I did enjoy that work. It was fun, on things.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know that a lot of companies they they try to do a lot of different kind of services,
Hmm.
right? But
Yep.
but I think you had mentioned simple service.
Yep.
Do you mind kind of diving into
Yeah. I mean,
what
we
you
don't
mean by that?
do.
Maybe for others that maybe wouldn't understand maybe some of the benefits of that.
Yeah, you're not training people to do 50 jobs. Like you can do, let's say you do 5 jobs and you do them really well. But if you do 10 jobs, you're not going to do them really well. You're going to do them okay. I would rather do them really well and be specialized in that than do them okay. Now, as the size of your business grows, you can change and you can get different divisions and add on. You have a little bit more flexibility to, do those things. But as a smaller company, your resources are limited for the most part. Your employees are limited on things. So it's easier to focus on a few things and grow it that way out than to try and do a bunch of services, in regards to that. So, we didn't get into hardscaping, patios. We don't do installs. We're mainly on the maintenance side of things: mowing, trimming, pruning, mulching, spring and fall cleanups, commercial snow removal, that aspect of things. Now, we'll replace a shrub here or there on things, but as a full design portion of things, no, that's not our area. And nor do we want to go that route on things. I know it can be more profitable, but we've tried to take that business model and kind of simplify things, like I said. So, if the truck is set up for mowing it, that's what it's doing all the time on most things. You're not changing things out and having to unload and reload. And there's a lot of time behind the scenes when you do that. When you say have a pickup truck and trailer set up, and then on the next day you've got to load a skid steer and go get shrubs, and then you got a dump trailer the next day, or whatever the case may be. So, it made more sense for us, in that aspect there. Is it for everybody? No, but that's what worked for us.
Yeah. And and what would your response be to some of the industry that might say, well, all the profits are in the hardscape work or the install base work? Um, being that you run a profitable maintenance company, what would your response to that be?
I'm glad for them. I'm excited for them, that they're making it happen there. That's the area that they felt they wanted to go in, just like, us. They might not want to do maintenance. They might say that's, the profit margin's not there, on things. So if they're making it work, that's awesome. Congratulations, to you on that there. And I'm glad you found the niche that works for you and your business, on things there. And it is a higher profit margin. There's no doubt. Um, but if the economy does slow, and at some point it will, it goes up and down. Um, that to me is not something that someone has to have. That's a want and not a need. Your maintenance is more of a need on a lot of things than a want. So even though the prices may come down on the maintenance side, which hopefully they don't, but if the economy goes down, obviously some things go down. It's a little bit more recession proof, so to speak. I don't think there's anything that's 100%, but your patios, your landscape installs, your irrigation, all the little extra things that everyone likes, those will be the first things to be cut on things, even on commercial properties.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, and I think it's you know, sometimes it's hard to look at broad statements like that. And I totally agree with you, Steve. It's like you know, every company's different, right? Every
Mhm.
company has their positives and negatives, and even just the leadership of the company may just prefer doing something else,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Maybe. So yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Now, have you focused more on residential or commercial?
We do a mix actually on things. We do both commercial, residential, and industrial. So it's nice to have a little mix of things there. I think it's kind of diversified. We're having the same equipment now. we don't service townhomes. So we've or smaller homes that, require smaller mowers. And the reason why we did that was we can have anything either on the truck and trailer or the box truck you see in the background there. We can, those vehicles can go to either site, if you know what I mean. So we're not kind of limited. We did try it, and I tried it for a year where we did some other residentials that we need to specialize mower, like 36 walk behind on stuff. And only one truck could go there. The other one might be right next door, but you still had to send that one there. I said, nah, this isn't working. So we kind of scrapped that, and we need a 60-inch gate to get in your yard, plain and simple. So,
Awesome. And so from residential to commercial
mhm.
to industrial,
Yeah.
I guess can you give me an overview into maybe what that's I guess starting with the marketing and the sales approach with each. Is there is there
That's a
much
good
of a
one.
difference there?
I think that on there it is. Some of our commercial stuff we've had, like one customer for snow. I think this year will be 24 years we've had them
Wow.
for snow. They were one of our original ones back in the day on things. Um, and then we kind of migrated over to doing their industrial work and so forth there. And they're, a sand and gravel company, and we do a fair amount of work for them. Now they're huge. We don't do all their sites. They probably have 50 locations in 3 states or some 4 states, whatever it is. So we don't do all of those, obviously, on there for them. But so that's more of our industrial side, brush cutting, larger fields, stuff like that. On the commercial side of things, um, we've worked with some management companies over the years. Um, and we still have a good working relationship with most of those on there. Some of them are for international chain stuff. Some of it's local on there. And, I hear people complain about it, but as long as you do what you're supposed to in the contract, you don't have any issues, and just do what you say you're going to do and what the contract says it's, required, and you don't have problems on there. We look at it and see what's a good fit for our company. Snow wise, we don't go outside of our area. We don't take on any more that work than we can handle. And we've actually never advertised our snow work really in the time we've been in business. And we have a full schedule. Could we add on? Absolutely. Um, but that just there's a lot of risk with that. Slip and fall stuff, we want to give our customers the level of service that they need and that they ask for in their proposals. So stretching ourselves thin, something happens, blizzard, whatever, um, our service levels may fall if we had to, go further out on things. And that's not something I'm willing to risk with my customers on there. So,
Very nice. And when it comes to either in-house employees or
mhm.
subcontractors, can you kind of give us a
Most of it
and
for us is in-house
yeah,
on there. I'm not saying we haven't used subs over the years for a few things. You get in a pinch and stuff there, and you need a hand. Or they may have something specialized that we need to accomplish for a client and try and make it happen. But for the most part on things, we try and do everything we can in-house with our own team on there. I know there are other contractors, and we have some locally that, the snow contracts spell out, you cannot sub this out, and they still sub it out. And that's on them if something happens, but we're going to abide by it, and we're going to do those things ourselves in-house, just like we said we would
yeah,
um, on things there. But trying to think on the mowing side, we kind of handle everything on there. So we don't really sub any of that out. We do refer stuff back to other companies. So like I said, the townhome stuff, we have 3 or 4 other lawn companies we can refer those out to. We do have another larger company that refers us out for homes. They only do HOAs. So, you know, residential stuff they send our way. So we have a pretty decent network. We get along with most of the contractors in the area and share work back and forth. It's not oh, he got this and he got that. It's, we'll have lunch, we'll call, whatever the case may be on things. So, and it makes life a lot easier. I may need a favor one day. We may be short on something. And they'll come help us out on things. So, and likewise, we've done the same thing. I had one of them, their skid steer went down. Hey, come get ours, go ahead and use it. So,
wow, very nice. And is that just through networking, like you mentioned, maybe just having a lunch with them? How would someone maybe that you know does do a little bit more of a narrow service
mhm.
start just the process of, maybe having one of those partnerships, because that
Yeah,
could be very valuable, because you're not spending money on marketing, right? You're
right.
basically,
Yeah.
so those kind of relationships could be very lucrative as
Yes,
well.
they can. They can. We were actually approached by one of the local chemical companies, lawn maintenance, as far as fertilization, weed control, and so forth. That's not an aspect that we handle. But we're trading work back and forth on things. So it's worked out really well for us on that. It's helped them out tremendously on things. They're, a decent sized company on there, but they're still a locally owned company. And it's not a franchise. It's not any of that stuff. So we've worked well with the locally owned companies. And it's just acquiring, knowing people over the years and meeting people, it may be at the dealership or the dealer, our sales team at John Deere and Kohler Equipment. They're phenomenal. Both of those people are awesome. And, they have called to ask us questions, and, they've put us in touch with other contractors who may have a question on something, and we'll give them some feedback and try and help them out on that. So it's worked well in there.
Very nice. And when it comes to from when you started the company all the way to now, right?
Uh-huh.
What what does your day look like? In regard to just the administrative part of the work, the field work and stuff like that. I guess what do you as the leader of the company handle?
Um, Many hats, honestly. We're not a huge company on things. I do still get out and I do still mow. I do all the estimates, all the routing on so forth there. Um, if we get in a jam and they need extra help out there, I'm going to pitch in and I'm going to help out so we can get the job done on things. Um, so yeah, do a little bit of everything. Whatever needs to get done right now, I do. It is harder to grow things when you're in the field sometimes. You have to take a phone call, or you're, sitting on a job site and, in a truck and taking some notes for things on there. Um, but you got to do what you have to do to get things accomplished there. Help your team get the job done if they need help on something. You might be short staffed one day. Somebody might be on vacation, somebody might have been sick, and those things happen.
Yeah,
Um, there was a time I probably would have got frustrated with it, like why, but everybody's human. You know what I mean? There is other things in life than just the business on things. So I'm willing to help out on things and do what I can so we can get it done so that, everyone can get home and go home at a decent hour on things and not be, completely wore out on things.
yeah,
So,
that's awesome. Yeah, no, and it reminds me of when I had used to work on ships, and
mhm.
they used to almost grade kind of the how good of a leader the captain was, and basically how many times he would even be seen down in the engine room,
Right.
because just to kind of make sure that the whole ship was running in a good way, right? Even
Yeah,
though they maybe weren't directly in charge of, maybe the chief engineer was, kind of showed that they really cared about everything that was going on, that they
absolutely.
communicated with everyone well. So I think that's a very underestimated aspect
Right.
of running a company.
And like I tell them, I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. I'm not going to put you in a position where I would never do that job. So anything they've done, I would do or have done on
Yeah,
there. So,
awesome stuff.
aside from the accounting stuff, I don't like it. That's why we have you guys, on there, which
Yeah.
has been a saving on things of time, headache for on my end. And you guys have really made that process smooth on things.
Glad to hear, Steve. And I guess, within some of the other administrative items, or even just within the field,
Mhm,
when it comes to tech stack, so some of the software,
mhm.
uh, some of the processes, do you mind kind of giving a little insight into what?
Sure. We've for our system right now, and it's I don't think there's a perfect software out there. I think you're going to get 80% of it. I don't think you're going to get 100% for each business. Everyone needs a little
Yeah,
something different. Um, and we've been with Jobber since 2013, which is when they came out, I believe, from there. So it's worked well for us over the years on things. Are they perfect? No. And like I said, I don't think any company is. Um, but they fit our needs right now on things, and it's working well for us on there. And they have improved things over the years and added features that we like. The customers like the texting message reminder the day before. Hey, we're coming out to service your lawn tomorrow, that type of reminder. They can upload a photo. My team can upload a photo if we need to. When they clock in, we have GPS coordinates on things there, which is especially important for snow in the wintertime for liability and so forth. We use that in accordance with GPS on the trucks and all of that stuff so that we can, if there's ever a question or a doubt on something, hey, here's when we were there. Here's what we did. And it's working well that way so far there. So we've tried to embrace technology. I would love to go autonomous mowers. That's my guys know that as well. Is it a
Yeah.
great fit yet for what we have? No. I think it's probably a 50-50 right now. And if it was a little bit better for us, we're going to get some. There's no doubt. And I don't think that's going to take away from our jobs. I think it's going to enhance us and allow us to focus on other areas and do a better job on things.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to take away anything on there. And they understand that as well, allow us to do a little bit more fine detail work and maybe even save the customer a few dollars on things.
Yeah.
We're definitely embracing the technology portion of things there to make life easier for everyone involved on it. So,
Yeah. No, I think that's a great approach, Steve. And I think sometimes companies try to get a little bit too ahead of the technology and implement
yeah,
it too soon, instead of it already maybe being a little bit proven. Um,
right. Yeah.
so
And we've tried stuff out. I mean, we demo things all the time.
yeah,
It's great when you go to the expo, you can talk to manufacturers, you can try things, you can get input. We do use some battery equipment, and I think it has its place.
yeah,
Is it for everything? No. Do we use it for everything? Absolutely not. Hedge pruners, pole pruners, stuff like that, absolutely phenomenal. I don't think we would use gas again.
yeah,
It works that well for us on things. String trimming all day, we're not quite there yet, I don't think. Just too many battery packs to go through currently.
yeah,
Um, and will it get there? Probably on things, but the common things you don't use every day, a small chainsaw. I mean, we have gas ones, but for something small, you can put a battery in and it starts right up. You don't
yeah,
have to worry about the gas going bad, stuff like that.
yeah. Oh,
So,
that's great stuff. And as you're doing some of the jobs as well, Steve, I think one of the things that um, gets a lot of companies into trouble is maybe estimating or pricing process that's not necessarily where it should be. I guess
right.
what is your approach been there? Do you have a specific spreadsheet or process, or I guess where have you kind of
We're actually working on the spreadsheet portion of things, and I'm not perfect, and
yeah,
I've messed a few up this year on there, but with the jobber, you can go back and track the time. You can see there, and if you do, we use Attentive to do property measurements.
oh, okay,
So you'll get a full map on it. And we actually attach that in the jobber portion of things. So our crew can see the property lines. They can see where we're supposed to mow, where we're not mowing. Um, Likewise with snow and so forth there. Um, so that really is a big help in getting the square footages down and knowing your obstacles, and then just going back and reviewing them and saying, all right, I thought this should take this long, but it's taking longer. So you can adjust your hourly, what you would think it would do. So
awesome, yeah. So it's
there
it's
has
kind of
been some
like
trial and error. I did estimate one this year so far that we're actually not. We're maybe a break even on it. But I gave the customer the quote for the year, and I said, "Here's where the dates are. I'd love to raise it, and I probably should on there, but I'm just like, on my word there. This is what we said we're going to do for this cost, and we're going to do this."
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, no, awesome. And I think you had mentioned first it's kind of, getting that data,
mhm,
tracking the time, which is a key part. But
absolutely
then I think a part that a lot of companies don't do is then go back and assess, okay,
right.
what do we need to adjust so that you can make sure, it
Yeah.
doesn't happen again. So
Yeah, and it takes some time. It is a learning curve. I mean, if I said we're perfect on everything, I'd be lying. There are things I still struggle with on some all the time, you know.
yeah,
But I'm constantly trying to figure out how we can overcome those challenges so that we're consistent on things and that we are profitable on things.
yeah,
I've gone to a couple houses this year and we've given quotes, and they said, "Well, we're paying $20 less. I just can't afford that." And ma'am, I understand. Um, we're probably not the best fit for you. Have a great day. Thank you. If you
yeah,
need anything in the future, give us a call. We're not winning them all,
yeah,
on there, and you shouldn't win them all. If you're winning them all, then you're probably a little low on your cost on things, in all
yeah,
honesty. And we did raise prices this year, and we've been doing that. There was a time where we went 2 or 3 years and didn't do anything. Well, prices do get more expensive.
Yeah,
And so that has helped. And we've tried to stay that 2 to 3% price increase, nothing huge on there. We don't need a shock on things, but if we can keep up with the inflation on things and, you know, make a little bit more, then that's where we'd like to be.
absolutely. And you had mentioned an example of a conversation you would have with the customer, right? That would
Mhm.
potentially not be a good fit. And I think that there's too many contractors that are starting out that instead of being confident and drawing that line
Right.
and moving on to the next customer that's going to pay them the right amount,
Mhm.
they'll maybe try to make certain adjustments or lower their pricing, right?
Yep.
What kind of advice would you have for a contractor like that?
I mean, if you're just trying to get in, you have no work, then you have to do what you have to do. But don't sell yourself short on things. Your time is worth something as well. Um, and if you're doing a great job, people aren't going to mind paying it, and we've tried to make things easy on there, put a credit card on file and do all of those things. And the customers really do enjoy those things. We've had compliments from our system saying, hey, it looks very professional, because they get those reminders. They get, everything's electronic. We're not having to mail a piece of paper out on things and, stuff's all over the place paperwork wise. So we've really kept it simple on there. And I think that's a big value, for the client and for us, and our team, so
Yeah,
everything is kind of all in one area, starting out, pick whatever software works for you and kind of do it. You have to, do something on a budget starting. You don't have tons of money, getting into it. So you have to do what's best, but as you go, see where you can invest to save time, save money, and those things will help you. Even though the softwares are expensive, the right one will actually save you time and make you money on things. What's it take if you use just QuickBooks and a piece of paper and a route and having to re-enter everything versus having the route already in there? As soon as we put it in the system, it puts it in for the rest of the year for us. So I'm not going back and each week adjusting it.
yeah.
So
That's that's great. Yeah, and that's really what a software is meant to do, and and
yes.
and I think like what you had mentioned, you can kind of sit there and try to make it hit 99% of what you want it to do,
Right.
or you can utilize it as well as you can,
Hmm.
you know, like you mentioned before. Sometimes, you kind of find yourself maybe only using 80% of it, or maybe it's only 80% as good as you would hope,
Right.
but I think it's kind of taking that step, into things and
Yeah, and we've tried to specialize things. There's companies that have, everything all in one package, but we've kind of pieced together some things that really work well for us and on the price point that we want to be at on things.
yeah,
And for our size company, like I said, there are things I wish were improvements where we could do crew tracking instead of individual tracking. That would definitely help out things there. Um, but we're making do with how it is now on stuff.
yeah,
So if that's the only thing that's really killing us right now, then, so be it. We can work with that on things. And then Jobber's been a great partner with us for over the years, for things there, with enhancements and so forth. So we've enjoyed working with them, tremendously on the software and see their growth. I mean, when they started, I think there was two people, and I dealt with Sam. He was, their CEO, and he was doing tech support then. And
wow,
they have what, 500 employees. So they've had tremendous growth over the years on things, and congratulations to them on that.
yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. We do work with a lot of companies that use Jobber and are
Mhm.
pretty happy with it. I would say, just through I think just the satisfaction of the software, I think it's definitely one, definitely up there. So
Yeah, and it's a good service-based industry. It's
yeah,
not, I wouldn't say necessarily just landscape industry. They're a broad service-based software.
yeah,
So it could work for anything, guys doing pavers, guys doing installs, there's so many things, house cleaning, all of that stuff there. Um, some of the ones that are just geared towards the green industry have pluses, to it. And, snow-wise, Jobber's not the ideal one for it. But if you go through and they will help you, like we've learned things every year, like let's do this and this, and a few shortcuts here and there that have worked well for us.
yeah.
So
Very nice. And you know, again, Steve, I I respect the amount of time, right, that you've been in business, right?
Mhm.
I think that really shows just kind of what you've been through in regard to ups and downs.
Right.
I think that's pretty awesome. Now, what do you think has separated your approach maybe from other companies that maybe fizzle out after a few years, right? How do you basically sustain the company for that amount of time?
It was difficult and sometimes there, no doubt. There were times I worked part-time jobs on things. I do have my commercial driver's license. I do has my hazmat endorsement on things. So I drove fuel tankers in the winter back in the day on things.
Yeah,
There was a buddy that had a tree company, didn't have anybody to drive a bucket truck in the wintertime. That was our mainly our slower time on things. So
yeah,
I would help the tree company out on things. So and it was a learning experience too. I learned a lot about tree work and so forth on that. Some things to do and not to do. So it was a good learning experience too. And it was kind of the same industry, but not, it's still hand in hand with the green industry on things. But it was definitely, like I said, a learning experience, and it was extra money for us on
yeah,
things. So now I'm solely with the business. I don't have, any other side jobs on anything there.
yeah,
Um, I'd like to say snow would help out on things, but the past 5 years or so, it's been a little on the dismal side of things there. We can't control that. Whether it gets better or not remains to be seen, but that's one area we kind of aren't investing a whole lot more in right now. Like we have everything we need to do the job. So there's no point in really, buying a whole bunch more equipment just to sit right now.
yeah, absolutely. No, great. And you know, I think from what you had mentioned, Steve, something that sticks out is just kind of being flexible and
Mhm.
and and doing what has to be done, especially in the seasonal business.
Absolutely.
So instead of trying to run your company, put that pressure on yourself during the busy season, and then in the winter, you know, almost depleting a lot of the profits that you made,
Mhm.
being proactive, right? Looking into your market and seeing, okay, what other services
Absolutely.
can I provide? What other job can I get during this time?
Mhm.
I think is one of those things that I think would does separate, you, Steve, from maybe some other companies that, you know, maybe fizzle out, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
I even had guys working for me in the wintertime. A couple, this goes back probably 6 or 7, maybe 6 years ago, something like that. And I was still driving fuel tankers. I'd go drive them in the winter and give them the work to keep
yeah,
them busy over there. And that would help me out, so that we're not losing our team. That way we can keep them there. We had the schedule lined out, and I'd only work a couple days a week with, driving
yeah,
trucks, but I thought it was a win-win for everyone. I didn't have to lay anybody off, didn't have to fire anybody, kept them busy on things there.
yeah,
Um, and I could still, bring in some extra cash to help me out on things. So,
absolutely.
you got to take care of your employees. That's the number one thing. Without them, you're not going to have anything unless it's just you. And if you want to stay just solo, that's perfectly fine on things. But if not, then you really do need to take care of your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And now look into the future, Steve. You have all this experience behind you, a lot of things, a
Mhm.
lot of lessons learned, a lot of, different adjustments you've made, um, success. What are you looking to do in regard to the future with the company?
Looking to grow a little bit more, honestly. We're not trying to be that 10, 20, $30 million company. I mean, that's a great goal to be at.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that's where I want to be on things there. We want to be bigger than we are now. Um, but I don't think that big. I still want to know all my employees by name. Still want to,
yeah,
that was one thing, honestly, with the fuel company, even though they were a family run company. Back then, the owner would still come in at the holidays, and he would pretty much know everybody and shake everybody's hand and say thank you for things there.
yeah,
And I think that goes a long way for things. And they would always do holiday stuff there. Like we do a holiday party for the employees. We do 4 10-hour days typically. So they have Friday, Saturday, Sundays off. Um, we do, I think, 9 or 10 paid holidays a year. So they're off yesterday, they're off today. It's a 4-day weekend. We got all of our work done by Wednesday afternoon. Had a cookout here at the shop, and everybody went home and they're enjoying this 4-day weekend.
yeah.
So uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, so the little things that you can do in there, we might not be able to compete with some of the bigger companies on all the benefits of everything, but we're sure going to try and give that, um, every tip, we can to make it happen.
Yeah.
So
No, that's that that's great stuff, Steve. And I feel like we can go on for another couple hours into a lot of these different topics.
yeah,
And
there's
I'd probably love to have you back on another episode to dive
yeah,
into a lot of this stuff because I have a lot of other questions too. But
yeah,
I guess,
absolutely.
you know, as we wrap up, any any last things you'd like to leave with the community?
I'm always still learning on things. There's not a day goes by that I don't learn something. A new way to do something, new way to try something. Um, and it's from different people. There's something to be learned from the solo operator up to the $100 million company. You can pick one thing in there and
Yeah.
do it, and you don't have to do it all at once. Implement little things at a time. It's the little things that add up. That way, it doesn't overwhelm you on things. Find the one thing that right now that will help you the most, that you think will help you the most. My team doesn't have to stop at a gas station. We provide waters, Powerades, snacks like crackers and stuff like that, and Slim Jims and all that. It's here in the shop. It's free. Like they just take it, and you know that's a little perk for them, and it actually helps us. They don't have to go to the gas station. They don't have to try and find a gas pump to fill up equipment and load up, and they can get done a little bit earlier in the day and come back on things. So, and it saves them some money, saves us money, saves them money. That's a win for everybody. But find that one little thing in there, like hiring you guys took out all of the stuff I have to sit and do for hours and I'll be honest, I hate it. I hate that part of things. Um, but hire something out that you really don't like and that you put off, and it will make your life easier on things.
Yeah.
And it's a specialty thing. I'm not an accountant. You're not a lawn guy. It's a good match, right?
Oh yeah.
On things. So it helps us, it helps you. That's what it's for. That's why everybody has a specialty that they're in.
Yeah.
And I would say reach out to some of your competitors, work together on some stuff, you know, um, meet up somewhere, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I I I love the advice there, Steve. And you know, I would challenge anyone that's listening, just as you mentioned, Steve, finding that one thing, right? And
mhm.
and trying to find that one thing, that out of the many that you brought up today, Steve, to
Yeah.
to just take that action and implement it in your company, right?
Yeah.
And
It could be something minor. It could be, I don't know, ordering hats, ordering uniforms. It could be any of those things, in there, like something minor. We send out holiday cards to our customers.
yeah,
We do some thank you cards to things, on there. So any of those little things there that you can do, whether it's for your employees, for your company, for your clients, even your dealers for things. I mean, because we look at them as partners as well.
yeah,
We've taken lunch down to them before for things, they help us out of jams.
yeah,
So, and it's been a great, you know, partnership with all of our vendors that we work with and customers and employees.
yeah.
So,
Very nice. Yeah, creating that win-win situation, for everyone
mhm.
because it's really possible. I think it's great to be able to work with people like you, Steve, and just the impact you're having in your community.
Right.
And the relationships you build and different things like that. So
Yeah. And we do a day of give back. On the 15th, let's see, July 15th, we'll be at Arlington National Cemetery with companies from all over the US donating back a day. Our team gets paid to go there that day.
yeah,
They look forward to it each year on things. And it's just something that we can do to give back, on there. And you can do local things too. It doesn't have to be something where you have to fly in and do stuff like that. We're kind of lucky that we're where we are, in just south of the nation's capital and things, um, and that we can do that to give back. So,
yeah.
volunteers is a good thing on there.
That's that's great, and I think it's the little things like that that just set the tone, even for the company.
Mhm.
Set the culture.
Yes.
In regard to priorities and just kind of your approach there. So that's awesome stuff there, Stephen. Again, I really appreciate
Yeah.
you hopping on here, and I think I hope everyone was taking some notes because a lot of great points there.
Yeah.
But
They have questions. I'm definitely willing to help somebody out on something. I might not have all the answers to something there. And like I said, that's where you reach out to, you know, who has a business that you want to go after, who has the size
Yeah,
of this, and, reach out to them and see if they're willing to help. With the worst thing that they're going to say is no. I
yeah,
don't have time, or I can't do this, or I don't have that answer. But you don't know until you try.
yeah, absolutely. And how can people reach out to you, Steve, if they
They can go to the website there. The email page there is info@potomaclawns.com, and drop us a line and we can go from there on it. And if there's, any specific questions on there, um, whether it's what we use or how we do it, or, I'll be, let me know the question and we'll see what we can come up with. Um, whether it's snow related too. We are a member of SEMA, and I have I think it's Snow Professional, CSP, whatever, on
yeah,
there. So the snow side has a lot of things involved in that too. That's a whole different um, business than the ground side of things, but it's a fun one too when it does snow.
yeah. No, no, that's awesome stuff, Stephen. Thanks again for joining us here. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a nice rest of your day here. Right?
Thanks, you too. We appreciate you having us on.
All right.
Take
Talk
care.
soon.